This video is going to be a look at the potential impact that Zay Flowers can have on the Ravens offense in 2023, on the way the play calls are made offensively by the Ravens, and even on Lamar Jackson's career trajectory. I think Zay Flowers was a no-brainer pick for the Ravens. That the front office has kind of come out and said that. And to be upfront about this is there won't be any college film shown in this video. So if you're looking for that, you're gonna have to check out other channels or other locations. I don't put college film on my YouTube channel, put it on my Twitter, but this is going to show some Ravens plays from previous years and kind of try to project or predict how Zay Flowers can impact this team. But there's a little bit of a bait and switch element with this video as well. It's going to be talking about one of the things that I think the Ravens can do to change the dynamic of how they are defended. I think it'll be defended just by the nature of Todd Monken's play calling, the personnel groups and formations that he's going to be used. So it's already going to be changed by the time the teams get on the field for their Week 1 game against the Houston Texans. But to change it during the course of the season or throughout the course of the season and put the Ravens offense in more advantageous positions, they're going to have to beat some people deep. That's one of the things they've been inconsistent as. There's going to be film shown here of Lamar hitting some deeper passes, and there'll be some film shown of him clearly missing them. And whoever we want to attribute blame to, the offensive line for inconsistent pass pro, Lamar for being inconsistent at putting the ball in good position or being accurate on longer passes, the receivers for slowing down or running a poor angle. I really don't care who we want to apply blame to. The point is the Ravens are going to have to hit some of these plays in order to get defenses out of certain coverages, and I think Zay Flowers is a huge part of that. So what we'll do is we'll let some of the film run, and the first section of plays will be some completed long passes, and I'll start to talk about how I think that Zay Flowers can impact Lamar's statistical production. I was one of those people during the non-exclusive tag time period that thought it was in Lamar's best interest to re-sign with the Ravens. It was in his own in his own self-interest, I should say, his career trajectory to come back to Baltimore. I thought at that time the hiring of Todd Monken seemed like it was a great situation for any quarterback, but primarily Lamar, to improve his production, his passing stats, get to the level that a lot of us think he's capable of reaching as a professional quarterback, which is a Super Bowl winning franchise quarterback. In order to get there, to reach that potential, there were certain hurdles to navigate. I think Zay Flowers is a guy who's going to help him and help the offense do that. One of them, I've already mentioned earlier, regardless of what you think the reason was, scheme, technique on Lamar's part, wide receiver talent, etc., is the inconsistency on the long throws where guys are open, available to be hit, and we just have not consistently done so. Zay Flowers, in my opinion, can help Lamar erase any or all of those problems. This selection of plays is across Lamar's career when he's hit on the long ball. This first selection of plays, I should say. I'm going to just let these plays run while I talk, and you guys let me know if there's not enough play analysis here. I've covered some of these throws, in really detailed fashion. This is obviously a beautiful throw from Lamar to Marquise Brown up in Denver, Week 4, 2021. Great catch by Marquise Brown. The Marquise Brown comparison to Zay Flowers, I think, is interesting because of the long ball threat, and you're certainly going to see a number of plays by Marquise Brown in this video if you watch, more than the first 5 or 6 minutes. You've got a number of what I would call post or climb concepts where there's a tightly aligned wide receiver from one side of the field that beats the defense deep to the other side of the field. That's not one of the plays that's shown here. The first one is one of the ones I'm talking about. The first play that we showed in this video is Deshaun Jackson against the Jags in 2022. Marquise Brown against the Dolphins, the play that I have shown you already. And then also against the Broncos in 2021. This is a good illustration of it. Sammy Watkins against the Raiders in Week 1, 2021, running something like this. It could be, more of a post in certain situations, not this play, that looks like that. But in any case, it's a receiver from one side of the formation ending up threatening the deep portion of the other side of the field. Not going to go into some of the technical stuff about how they're, keeping or holding the corner with a tight end or a fullback or someone run out to the flats. I've already covered that in numerous other videos. Sammy Watkins here against this inside linebacker. Perfect way to attack the other side of the field. I call it a climb concept. But in any case, he's hit this throw multiple times. And Zay Flowers used this route often at Boston College. I do expect Todd Monken's offense to generate more of these vertical opportunities in 2023. His offense at Georgia, I thought, showed a number of designed deep pass concepts. And besides, in Flowers, you have a guy who's capable of running these routes, along with, obviously Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. You'll see some film of them being open and available on somewhat similar routes. Have these routes been missed opportunities at times? Sure. Times when Lamar could have completed the long pass, but for whatever reason we did not? Absolutely. There's various reasons I could talk about: overthrows, pass protection issues, a hiccup, in the receiver's route that causes a half step, mistiming, whatever. I don't care to sit and argue about the percentage of blame for each position. Bottom line is, Ravens have left opportunities out there. And the premise of this video is that Zay Flowers and Zay Flowers alone could potentially turn what has been a clear inconsistent aspect of Lamar's performance in Baltimore into a strength. Zay Flowers and his ability to make catches, kind of like this one that we just showed right here, but the climb or post concept that he used at Boston College often, even some underneath routes. He has the ability to turn what has been perceived as a weakness of Lamar's career overall, and what probably is perceived as a weakness by non-Ravens fans, into an absolute strength. Todd Monken used multiple guys at Georgia across the width of the field horizontally and the depth of the field. One of them was Ladd McConkey, a tough guy, talented, played well in the SEC, made a lot of plays for Georgia, don't get me wrong. I think Zay Flowers compares favorably to him, and that's just to put it in a very positive sense. Monken will definitely look for ways to use Zay Flowers' skills to make the game easier for Lamar. Part of that is these downfield plays that Monken has spent, it seems like, a lot of time talking about stretching the field horizontally. I think EA did a video recently about using every blade of grass horizontally. But I think Monken, is also talking about stretching the field vertically. And you get an example of us we just miss Demarcus Robinson here. Lamar's hit this throw. I showed you the one against Sammy Watkins. I showed you one to Marquise Brown, somewhat similar concept, against Denver in 2021. Personally, I'm excited to have to cover an offense that's going to be more diverse, that's going to be more versatile, less one-dimensional. I'm looking forward to the challenge of trying to save and categorize offensive plays for you guys, for Ravens fans, to try to understand part of it. I think that the Ravens are going to create more of these opportunities here against safeties with a guy like Zay Flowers. You see an example of Duvernay making himself available for it. Ball's, a little bit overthrown. I know, me personally, I have found myself talking about other guys in the Ravens passing attack a lot more than Zay Flowers. I found myself talking about OBJ, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Aguilar, and neglecting to even mention in one video Zay Flowers until the end. I think, as I said earlier, it's the potential is there to turn what has been an inconsistent element of the Ravens and Lamar's performance, particularly since 2020, into a point of strength and really change the coverage dynamic for other teams who are defending the Ravens. I think Zay Flowers specifically is a guy who, and it's real easy to say this, it's not a real, in-depth statement. I think he's a guy who could have 3 catches in a game for 125 and 2 touchdowns. His ability to really alter the coverages that teams play, I think is going to be shown very early. And with the Ravens playing 3 division games, I think in the first 5 weeks, Zay Flowers, Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson got a real great opportunity to just change the dynamic of the way the AFC North teams defend Lamar specifically immediately. Against some of these teams, like you see here, like the Bengals, Steelers, Broncos, even that play a lot of split field coverages, trying to get Zay Flowers or Duvernay or Bateman or OBJ working on safeties. Now, in this case, you can see what the Bengals have done. They've used the safety to take the motion man, which in this case I think is Prochet, and now a corner, Eli Apple, is up on Duvernay. You end up getting pressure in Lamar's face. So it's not like every situation where he can't step into the throw is Lamar's issue. The point is, it'll be Monken's job to try to shore up the pass pro, shore up whatever difficulties Lamar has with being accurate downfield, shore up receivers' routes or whatever they're reading if it's a choice route, and try to get people on the same page. Because it's just been inconsistent results. I think you've got, and I showed it earlier in this video, I think you've got the touchdown to Bateman in week 1 of 2022, the clutch completion to Deshaun Jackson against the Jags that I showed, numerous other completions from previous seasons, including, the touchdown to, or one of the 2 touchdowns to Marquise Brown in 2019. I think it was a 56-yarder or 58-yarder. And you just have a number of examples in this video that show some overthrows or some missed throws or guys that are available, but for whatever reason, either the ball was thrown too high or the route wasn't run as deep as Lamar thought it would be. I personally think the ball's overthrown, but whatever the reason is, Lamar, Todd Monken, Zay Flowers, and the whole receiving corps, their job is going to be early in the season to show teams we're able to hit some of these concepts now and get you out of coverages that leave you balanced as a defense, meaning able to defend the run and the pass from the same look. Get teams out of more too high looks. In my opinion, there's a simplistic way of looking at this that I think the Ravens believe they've addressed just by the hiring of Todd Monken. I think Greg Roman's weakness from a play calling standpoint was generally attacking too high safety structures. I think he had more success and a better plan in the passing game attacking one high safety structures. Todd Monken, if anything, may be the flip side of that coin. He's faced Alabama and the split field cover 7, guru, or Nick Saban. I almost said Lou Saban. That tells you how old I am. Twice in 2021, one of which was to win a national championship. Point being, I think Todd Monken is here to address the offensive or structural deficiencies that we've had, most of which I would not attribute to Lamar, even though part of this video shows him, missing a handful of throws. I think Zay Flowers as a slot receiver could really change the coverage dynamic in a way that I'm not sure anybody else can besides Rashad Bateman because he's so incredibly talented. If we can get him healthy and out there on the field consistently, we're talking about a dangerous guy who can make, plays against any corner in the NFL. I think all of those guys, Duvernay, Bateman, Flowers, they're all capable of getting vertical, and Lamar's capable of hitting the throws. That's why, included these plays in the video. He's just got to be more consistent. Connecting on, the larger point for me here is this, connecting on more of these throws early is going to be a huge momentum swing for this offense. It'll have long-lasting effects. In some ways, I think they need 2, maybe 3 in the first 5 weeks. Now, 3 of those games are against divisional opponents, so I'm going to try to tie that in together. I do not think that hitting on 2 of these longer plays is a 14-point swing over the course of a season. I think it's potentially like a 48-point swing. Don't ask me about the math on that. I'm not sure how that works. But I'm going to use a baseball comparison for this instead of basketball. Let's say that you as a batter or a hitter, you get a pitcher's fastball on the inside part of the plate twice early in the season, and you hit a couple of home runs. What happens is you're not going to see that pitch much more, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's high school baseball, college baseball, or adult league fast pitch softball because I never played slow pitch, so I'll never talk about that crap. Point is, you're not going to see that pitch more often as the season progresses because of scouting or just pitchers talking or pitchers being smart, which in some cases they are. They're going to avoid the pitches that you've demonstrated you can hit hard and you can hit well. If you've ever been a pull hitter in baseball or softball, and again, I don't mean slow pitch because everybody's a pull hitter in slow pitch. You know what I'm talking about. You can, if you get a pitcher's fastball and you pull it down the third base line for a double, you've changed the dynamic. You can bet that you're going to see a changeup or something outer half in the next at bat. You've changed the dynamic. You have now kind of dictated to the pitcher what he or she, in some cases, can or cannot throw. How do I relate this to football? Hitting a couple of these long passes early in the season, particularly the first 2 or 3 weeks, in my opinion, isn't just 14 points more that they've scored over the course of that, let's say, 3 games. It has an exponential impact, in my opinion, because it shows defenses what they can and cannot play successfully against this Ravens offense, which Lamar, Todd Monken, they have an advantage early in that teams haven't seen it. And if they can hit on some of these early, they can kind of scare defenses out of certain coverages. And so the coverages I'm talking about is the split field coverages that have given the Ravens problems in many cases. 2 safeties sitting back there, staring at the quarterback, reacting to Lamar. There's another element to this that I talked about in a previous video. Lamar getting to his second or third read, or, quote, looking people off by design. It goes more in depth than this, just that. I think these early season games in 2023 are like a game within a game. Todd Monken and the Ravens offensive staff, they're not just trying to win the game, by doing what's best, what they think will work best in that moment. I think there's another layer showing defenses that you can handle those split field coverages and you can get people downfield against safeties. Because that's the point. Like if you think about that one, the overthrow for Duve in the slot against the Bengals, where he beat Von Bell, pretty easily, and Lamar overthrew him by 2 or 3 yards. Those situations, getting Zay Flowers singled up on those safeties down the field, huge advantage for the Ravens. And if you just look at the sheer number of talented receivers and tight ends the Ravens have now, I think all defenses are going to have real difficulty matching up with these guys from a personnel standpoint. I'll use one more sports comparison and we'll be done. In a basketball sense, these teams now that throw out, 3 or 4 guys that are really capable with the ball in their hands, and they can run pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll, and look for the right matchup. They can do that because they have, talented players with the ball in their hands, guys who can create, guys who can get to the basket. In my opinion, the Ravens have, in a basketball sense, 3 or 4 of those guys if it's a 5-on-5 situation. In reality, the Ravens probably have 6 of them. If you talk about Bateman, OBJ, Zay Flowers, Duvernay, Aguilar, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar. There's a whole lot of guys that can win matchups at the NFL level, and they've kind of shown that already. In my opinion, the Ravens have got to hit some deep passes early in the season. I think that's part of the reason Zay Flowers was brought in. He's more than just a downfield guy. He's more than just a gadget guy on short passes. He can attack in the intermediate level as well. I think he's a complete receiver. The size element is what allowed people to get away with pigeonholing him as only this or only that. I think he's an extremely versatile player. Myself included, there's been people who haven't talked about him enough in terms of what he's capable of. I tried to show you guys some throws, some plays, some route concepts where Lamar has hit or has missed in the past. And those are the situations I think that Zay Flowers is just going to give the Ravens a little bit more level of downfield ability, big play ability, I should say. I expect the Ravens to use Zay Flowers early against these AFC North teams. Week 2, the Bengals, I believe. Week 4, the Browns. And Week 5, the Steelers. I think the Ravens are going to use him early to try to show those teams, show those defenses the dynamic has changed here. And it'll be Todd Monken and the coach's job to create those situations. And it'll be Lamar's job to be a facilitator in those moments. Let other guys be the playmakers that we all think they can be. All of those guys that I named, earlier, as well as J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, etc. This will be one of the main things that I look for early in the season. Can the Ravens put defenses on the back foot by threatening not just the horizontal width of the field that we've heard talked about so much, but the vertical depth as well, to really limit the coverages and the structures that defenses can play and make things simpler on their quarterback, simpler, more predictable for their quarterback, because that's what great offensive coordinators do, whether it's Lamar, whether it's a coordinator who's got Lamar Jackson on his team, or Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes, or whoever, is they manipulate situations to isolate the defense and limit them to only one or maybe two coverages. So the quarterback can very quickly look out there and say, okay, if this, then that. If that, then this. And I think Todd Monken looks like a guy who's uniquely prepared to do that. And Lamar Jackson has the ability, and now he has the weapons. You guys let me know what you think of the video, some of the film that I showed. I didn't really do any analysis of the plays, so forgive me for that. This was more of a commentary. Kind of excited just to see Zay Flowers go out there. I don't know about you. I'm not sure how much we'll see him in the preseason. I don't know how much I really need to see him. I feel like he'll look like Isaiah Likely from last year's preseason, just set apart, someone who really doesn't belong on the field at that time because of the tremendous amount of ability that he has. So you guys let me know what you think of the video, what you think of some of my thoughts there about the Ravens looking to go downfield, not often, but early in the season, and hopefully hit a couple of them to let these teams know, specifically AFC North opponents, that some of the coverages they've played in the past that Greg Roman really had difficulty defeating are going to actually open those defenses up to big plays down the field in the future, particularly if the Ravens can get some of their speedy wide receivers isolated on safeties down the field, like you saw in some of the plays here that we unfortunately were unable to hit consistently the last couple of years. Appreciate you guys' time. Let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this video, please consider grabbing the link and sharing it out on social media to help this video get more reach.